To bed early. All right. Welcome to Power Hour, everybody. Glad you're here. It is June 13th, Thursday, 9 o'clock Central Time. I've got two big things that I'm going to weave together tonight that it's funny how it always happens. Something I really personally believe in a lot is where you're at in your journey, the way that you touch, you get inspired by whatever your beliefs are, whether it's belief in God, belief in the universe, whatever it is for you. But I am a big believer in that there is definitely something that is bigger than us out there, and we also have a big part to play in that as well. And when you're at certain points in your journey, you get the inspiration from different places. Maybe it's a song comes on the radio. It's like, dude, that song was the one I needed to hear today. Or you see a billboard of all stupid things, or you hear somebody say something at work that you just happen to be tuned into, or you read a book, or you watch a video, or whatever. And two really big ones have occurred for me, and it's things, one of them I've listened to. In fact, I started listening to it 10 years ago and listened to it again, and a couple of key things hit me out of that. So what I'm going to start off with is I want to talk about philosophy. I want to talk about a wonderful book. And even if you have listened to this book, I want you to still tune in. I want you to be present. I don't want you to say, oh, this is going to be an easy power hour for me because, I just got done listening to that book. But what I'm talking about is Building Your Network Marketing Business by Jim Rohn. And it is the quintessential, one of the greatest trainings. Anybody that's ever been successful in network marketing will always refer to this book, to this program that he did. And it's an audio program that he did. And it's an hour and 6 minutes of just pure gold, everything. And he was such a good speaker. He was one of the best speakers on the planet in the history of speakers because of how he delivered his message. It was so well prepared. And it was so well delivered. He won countless awards for it. So great book. But I don't want you to tune out if you've already listened to that, because I'm going to pull in a couple things together, and I'm going to weave in the Jade Factory into it because it was such a big influence. So much of what I've created with the help of the team is based upon the philosophy in that book. So I want to call it out to you again, showing you this from just another viewpoint. That's the whole purpose of Power Hour, is to be able to have a classroom setting where you're getting around that campfire and hearing things that maybe you've heard before, but you needed to be reminded, or you hear it a little bit differently and it happens to stick. So I highly encourage you, and that's going to be the homework. There's going to be two things that I want you to watch, and that's one of them, and I'll talk about the other one here in a little bit when I transition in. But I'm going to go through and I'm going to hit some of the highlights of the notes that I took from my latest run through this, and literally knocked it out in one day, a trip to the office and a trip back from the office. And the first comment I want to make on there is when he talked about it, he was a part of network marketing, and he was one of the best. The first thing he talks about is you got to have a product that is special. We have such an amazing, amazing opportunity that we're all part of with Kyani, in that we have a product. We don't give this enough justice, I think. We talk about so many other things because the product is so darn good. The Kyani products are literally, I think, hands down the best on the planet. They're amazing. And because of that, that part is easy. That's number one. You got to have that. Good nutrition especially is so important. And then once he mentioned that, then he goes into saying a couple different philosophies that were very important. When he learned these, it changed everything. So I want to point these out to you and put this in your notes, or come back and watch the recording. But the first one is profits are better than wages. So what is that? Profits will make you a living. Wages will make you a living. All right, something's making noise. I don't know why. Oh, my wife's phone's connected to my thing. Okay. It's like, why is this beeping? Profits are better than wages. Wages will make you a living. Profits will make you a fortune. Nothing wrong with wages. A lot of us are, work for wages or have worked for wages. And that's fine. There's no problem with that. But profits are super fine. Now, ingenuity brings goods and services to the market. That's why profits are important, because profits means that you're doing something that's going to have ingenuity, and that comes into play with what I'm going to weave together here tonight. All right. The second thing to mention, well, the next thing to mention, I don't know what number I'm on, but part-time versus full-time. So important to understand that network marketing is best achieved on a part-time basis. And it builds into your story. Because part-time, anybody can do part-time. Anybody has extra time on their hands. I know we're all busy, but if the priority is there, you can do part-time. And he defined part-time somewhere between 10 and 15 hours a week. Some of you struggle to spend 10 minutes a day on this thing. I want to make that distinction. 10 to 15 hours for part-time comes down to about 2 hours a day. Now, the way they did things back in the day, the way that I did things when I first started, and then the way we do things now, the way we do things now allows you to not spend so much time. He spent a lot of time because he was driving all over the place. All right, sorry, a couple people coming in unmuted. It's not. Let me click another button here so I can make sure that doesn't keep happening. Okay, I think I got it. So part-time for us, because of our process, is a whole lot more efficient. We don't spend a lot of time, not as much time as used to be spent doing what we do. We've got some tools. We got some neat efficiencies in the world called technology, namely this little fella right here, that really breaks it down. Because in the 80s, when he was doing this recording, they didn't have the toys that we've got today. So your part-time can be even less than that, but he speaks of 10 to 15 hours. It's one thing to tell somebody that you're working and making some extra money, but if you tell them you're doing it on a part-time basis, I'm working full-time on my job and part-time on my fortune, that's an interesting concept. I'm working full-time on my job, part-time on my fortune. Now, where do you weave that into your process? Where do you weave that into the Jade Factory when you're doing that? This comes into where you're going to give your personal testimonies and tell the stuff about what you're doing when it's appropriate. This is specifically appropriate after you wave at somebody and you say, hi, how are you? And they say, I'm good, how are you? And then you're good, how's your family? Doing great. How's your family? Doing great. How's occupation? Going good. How's your occupation going? Yeah, my occupation's good. I'm working full-time on my job, but, part-time on my fortune. What's that all about? Now, this is where some of you mess up. When you get, what's that all about? You start bumping your gums and tell them all the details about it. I'm fine with you giving them a personal testimony, but it's not time to do the presentation just yet. Okay? That's for somebody else to do later in our process. That's after step 5. Your job is to say, well, why are you interested? Would you be interested in earning some additional income? I would, especially if it's just part-time. Ding, 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 ding. We have the trigger. We know what their thing is. They want to make some more money. Are we ready to do a presentation yet? No. We got to ask more questions. We need to understand it more. So that's how you weave that statement. One of the best statements, by the way, ever that was given for what we do. So what you can do is say, I found a way to make a living, but I also found a way to make a fortune. And soon, what I'm working on part-time, I'll be able to switch over and work full-time on my fortune. They're like, that sounds pretty neat. Can you tell me more about it? I'd love to tell you my story. Tell them your story. Tell them how you found out about it. Tell them your big aha moment that you had. But then turn it back to them. This is how you have a conversation, weaving in what you're excited about. He goes on, and he says, what it takes to change somebody's life on a part-time basis isn't that much. An extra $1,000 a month is a game changer for most people. It could mean a house if you want it to be a house. It can mean definitely a really nice new car. It could mean one hell of a vacation or several vacations. $1,000 a month is a difference maker. $1,500, $2,000, $3,000, $3,500. This is just going somewhere between pearl and ruby. And we're able to offer all of that. Imagine an extra $3,000. That will absolutely change people's entire existence on a part-time basis. And it's not the money, it's the lifestyle that the money's going to get them. They're going to start thinking about it. And guess what that does? You might tell them, hey, if you were making an extra couple $1,000 on part-time, what would you do with it? What drives you? What would be cool for you? Man, I'd go on some trips. Ding, 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 ding. I'd pay off some debt. Ding, 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 ding. This is how you can weave this in. So the next thing, the next big major philosophy that he had after wages will make you a living, profits will make you a fortune. Profits are better than wages. After he mentioned the power, the magic of part-time. The next one after that's going to be, it's not what happens that determines your life's future. It's how you react to it. He has one of the greatest analogies of that is he says, we're all in this little lifeboat, in this little sailboat, rather. And we're out there in the ocean of life. The wind is blowing on everybody. We all have our own little sailboat out there. It's not what happens to you that determines what goes on. It's how you react. It's the set of your sail. If you have your sail set wrong, you're not going to catch that wind to turn it into something. You can have a wind coming absolutely directly at you from the direction you want to go. And if you set your sail right, there's a sailing term called tacking. And if you do it right, even with the wind blowing directly at you, you can still move forward. It's a technique. But here's the problem. People don't know that. They're not taught that. They think, well, I was just unlucky. There's nothing I can do about that. It's a philosophy. It's a huge philosophy. It starts personal development. It starts the journey of personal development to understand that that wind that's happening, the disaster wind, the opportunity winds, the social winds, the political winds, all of that blows on everybody. Why do some people succeed and some people fail? Well, they got lucky. They had this, they had that. No. It's because they set their sail differently. Because you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs. I don't know where you're at. You might be on a down. You might be on an up. Betty just stepped on a nail. That was a downer. I just had a pretty neat thing happen to me this week. That was an upper, right? Before that, I had a downer. It's going to happen. It's all going to happen. I don't know where you're at. Maybe the wind's blowing a little different right now in yours, but it's always blowing. It's how do you set it? So for things to change, you have to change. That's it. It's not up to anybody else. If you wish to change, you can change right now. If you wish to. He made a very big distinction there. If you wish to, if you choose to. Because if you don't choose to, guess what? You're not going to change your sail. You're not going to change, and you're going to be bitching about the same thing you've always been bitching about. But if you choose to, you can. Who can? Anybody can. So here's the deal. Just because you can doesn't mean it's a law that everybody's going to do it. They're not going to do it. It's not like the law of gravity. Gravity is going to affect everybody. That's going to happen. But this is not going to happen for everybody because why? Because they don't choose to. They have it in their head that they can't create. And if they can't create, then it's based on somebody else having that dominion over them. And they won't think that they can make that change. These were the cards I was dealt. It's like, you can reshuffle the damn things. Or, I just got to play these. No, you can fold those and get another stack. You can do that right now. What I choose to do is teach you guys this. I did not know this stuff until I was exposed to him. I don't remember exactly who it was that exposed me to him. I do remember that it started in my previous company, and they introduced Darren Hardy. He had come, and you just saw him. For those that were in Salt Lake City, I saw him 10 years ago. And as a result of that company having something to do with it, so I don't remember who sent me that email, but I got that email. And then because of Darren Hardy, I was like, man, I really like this guy's stuff, but he didn't have that much stuff. I'm like, who taught him? Let's go find this dude's teacher. This dude's teaching, but who taught the teacher? Jim Rohn. Oh, crap. Who's this little guy? Right? Little wispy hair guy. Then I do a little bit more research, and this guy has taught Tony Robbins. He's taught Eric Worre. He's taught Darren Hardy. He's taught like the who's who of so many people. I'm like, holy crap. And then I start listening to this, and I'm like, now I get it. And because of that, some series of random events or events that I helped set in motion, who knows? But it happened, and I took advantage of it, and I've been listening to it for 10 years. And so I'm bringing this to you so that you will now say, maybe I'm a part of your story now. It's like, man, I sure am glad Casey shared that with me. Or I've seen that and I listened to it. I didn't really pay that much attention to it. I'm telling you, pay attention to this thing. Listen to it over and over and over again. Listen to it with the intent to teach somebody else this information. If you do it that way, now you got it. If you do it just to consume it, all right, that's better than nothing. First time you do it, you're going to consume it. Second time you're going to do it, consume it. Third time, consume it, but then say, hey, I might share a couple of these thoughts with some other people. So he goes on to say, people are always wondering, what's going to happen next? What's getting ready to occur in my life? What's going to happen? And he said, here's how it's going to be. He said, the next 10 years are going to be just like the last 10 years. It's going to have two things in it. It's going to have opportunity mixed with difficulty. That's what the last 10 years looked like. That's what the next 10 years are going to look like. He said the last 6,000 years of recorded history, opportunity mixed with difficulty. Next 6,000, it's going to be opportunity mixed with difficulty. So sometimes there's ups, sometimes there's down. Here's the thing. Don't be naive on either one of those. Don't be naive that everything's going right. Well, that means everything's going to continue to go right. Humans are real stupid that way. Well, since this happened this way, it's got to keep happening. I give you the stock market. That's when it's on its way up. Well, it's never going to crash. And then I give you the stock market on the side. It's a depression. It's never been so bad. It's the end of the world. No one's going to be able to recover. Cats and dogs living with each other. Total chaos. And then guess what? It rebounds back up. Don't be naive that it's always going to be going up. Don't be naive that it's always going to be going down. Know that it's going to go up and it's going to go down. And it's going to go up and it's going to go down. That's how it works. He goes on to say, for things to change, you have to change. He said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Because it's in these struggles, in these downs, where we have our growth. You don't get muscles by just thinking about it. You got to go through some pain. Rob gave me a thumbs up on that. That's from a personal trainer, okay? I got that one right. Anything that's worth learning probably involved a little bit of pain. It wasn't easy to do, but you did it anyway. And if you keep doing it, you're going to get better. He said, don't wish for less challenge, wish for more wisdom. The challenges are going to be there. Stop wishing them away. When you solve those, that's when you impact people's lives. The more people that you impact, the more you get. If it was easy, everybody would do it. That doesn't pay very well. That doesn't impact very well. Go do the hard stuff. He went on to talk about the law of averages. And he said, these other things, philosophies, but the law of averages is like gravity, right? There is a law. There is a thing that if you do the same thing often enough, a ratio will appear. Now, some of you don't like math, so I'll make this easy on you. If you swing a bat 10 times and you get on base 3 of those times, that's 3 divided by 10. you're batting 300. 30% of the time, you're getting on base. That means 7 out of 10 times, you're not getting on base. You got out. That's the ratio. Now, what's interesting is once a ratio appears, it tends to continue. What does that mean? If you reach out to 10 people, 10 people see the presentation, one of them's probably going to join. That's the numbers in our profession. In baseball, in the major leagues, if you hit somewhere around batting 100, 1 out of 10 to 2 out of 10, you make a pretty good living. If you're making 2 out of 10 to 3 out of 10, they're going to pay you probably a couple $100,000. If you bat over 3 out of 10, they're going to pay you a couple $1 million. If you get at the high end of that, almost a 4 out of 10, somewhere between 3 and 4, they're going to put you in the Hall of Fame. The people in the Hall of Fame struck out 7 out of 10 times. And they made $4 million, as he talks about. So once you start batting and you have a certain amount of skill, let's say you start off in this business and you get 10 people to get in touch with me. You make it all the way through step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Step 1, you wave. Step 2, hi, how are you? Step 3, where does it hurt? They tell you. That's the thing. Great. Sorry to hear about that. Step 4 is you empathize. Sorry to hear about that. What have you been doing for that? How long have you been dealing with that? Is that something you'd like to fix? Sure is. What you got? Step 5, pass the ball. You pass the ball 10 times, pretty good chance you're going to get one that's going to join you in the business. Those are the ratios that he's talking about in the video or in the audio. Now, here's what's interesting. If you go reach out to 10 more people, guess what? You're probably going to get another person. That's what we mean by the ratio tends to continue. Tends to continue. Doesn't mean every time. It means over time. You get 10 to step 5, one of them's going to join. You get 10 more to step 5, another one's going to join. You get 10 more to step 5, all of a sudden 2 join. What's that? That's you improving your skills. Did the comp plan change? No. Did the products change? No. Was it all the same stuff? Yep. What changed? You did. You got better. Why? Because for things to change, you got to change. For things to get better, you got to get better. Don't wish for more challenge. Don't wish for less challenges. Wish for more wisdom. You start acquiring some wisdom. You come to a couple power hours. You actually start applying some of this stuff instead of writing all these notes that you never look at again. You're actually figuring out tomorrow, I'm going to implement this thing. I'm not just going to write it down. That's a good step, writing it down. I'm encouraging you to take it the next step and actually apply it. That's how you improve your numbers. That's how you improve your averages. Now, here's an interesting thing. Let's say that I'm able to go and get 9 out of 10. I get 10 people to the point that I'm going to pass them or I'm going to explain it to them because I've got the proof to do so. When I get done with it, I get 9 out of 10. But you get 1 out of 10. Can you beat me? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can make up in skill what you lack in skill with numbers. You go reach out to 100 people that you get to step 5. And your ratio is 1 out of 10. That means you get 10 new people in your business. I reach out to 10 people, I get 9. You beat me. Why? Because you outworked me. And that's one of those philosophies that is out there too. Now, is that working harder or working smarter? It's probably working harder, right? You could get smarter. You could increase your skills and actually apply them and increase your numbers, and you don't have to work so hard. Here's the next thing he made a point of. You don't have to bat 1,000 in this business. Some of you think that if you lose one of them, that they don't wave back, they don't say hi back, they don't tell you where it hurts, they don't wish to fix it, they don't wish to talk to me, y'all lose your ever-living mind. This doesn't work. I didn't bat 1,000. I've got to quit. If you disagree with me on any of these statements, feel free to speak up. It'll be a fun discussion. You don't have to bat 1,000. He went on to make a pretty good joke. He said, look, when he got good and he started doing this thing for a little bit, couple months into it, he goes, I'm getting 3 out of 10. I get 10 to the thing. 3 of them are joining. And he said, all I got to do is get 10. I get 3 new people. Then his story got even better. And he says, I'm going around talking to people saying, look, I don't care if you join or not. I just want you to look at it. You can be one of my 7. I'm getting about 3 out of 10. If you want to be one of the 7, that's cool. I just need to get 10 to see this thing. That means you just need to get 10 to step 5. Get 10 to step 5. Guess what? 1's going to join. Then all of a sudden 2's going to join. Then 3's going to join. You're going to be like, all I got to do is get them through these steps. And this ratio keeps happening. And I start making some money. I start making some impact. I start making a difference in people's lives. All kinds of stuff starts happening. So then after that, he moves on to the law of sowing and reaping. This is a great story. It starts with the first thing about the sowing and reaping is that it started with an ambitious sower. Here's the deal. If you don't have an ambition, and this goes back to our desire, if your desire box ain't filled in, guess what? That means you're not ambitious. If you don't have that, the story's over. If you don't have your why, the story's over. If it's not a burning one to make you an ambitious sower, this story doesn't work. You've got to be an ambitious sower. And the sower had good seed. He had excellent seed. Guess what? That's called the vehicle. That's Kyani. That's the second box. That's our second pillar. You've got unbelievable seed, like the best seed I've ever seen. And I have tried a lot of different seeds. I have investigated not all, most, more than most. You've got excellent seed. Stop worrying about that part. Well, their customer service is not all. Stop. It doesn't matter for this part of the story. Can it get better? Sure. That's not your job. Your job is not to worry about the seed. You have excellent seed. That's how the story goes. Your job is not to create the seed. So what was the first thing that happened? He had the seed. He goes out and he starts sowing the seed onto the ground. And some of it falls off to the side. And guess what happens? The birds come in and pick up some of the seed. You're going to talk to some people. You're going to wave at them. They're going to wave back. You're going to say hi, and you never hear from them again. The birds got those. They're going to wave back. You're going to find out their thing. They're going to get on the phone. You're going to empathize with them. You're going to put them in touch with me, and then all of a sudden they disappear. Like my very eloquent friend, Mr. Brian Pinso, says, like a fart in a windstorm. AKA the birds got some of them. They're gone. Here's what he says. Don't chase the birds. Some of you are going out there and you are chasing birds. You're sitting there worried about why aren't they doing this, that, and the other. You're out chasing birds. Guess what? The birds are going to do what they're going to do. It's going to happen. It is out of your control. And when you are over here trying to fight the birds and getting frustrated and bringing shotguns after them, that means you are not sowing seeds. I see that as one of the biggest issues that a lot of people have in this profession is they're so worried about a whole bunch of other things that they're not on the field planting seed. They're worrying about the birds. They're over here contemplating underneath the tree going, how am I going to get all these birds? As Mr. Rohn says, don't sign up for that class. You can take that class. It is offered, but I wouldn't sign up for it. He goes on to say that the sower kept on sowing. That's key. They were persistent. They kept doing it. They didn't stop. Why? Because they had a desire to keep sowing. They didn't have a desire to keep sowing. They had a desire for the harvest at the end. So you have to keep doing the steps. You got to keep taking the action. And here's the neat thing. As long as you keep on sowing, the birds are not going to get all of the seed. That's just how it works. That ratio is there. They're going to get some, but they're not going to get all of them. So the sower kept on sowing. And when they started sowing more seeds, some of it fell on rocky ground. where the soil is shallow. Not a lot of topsoil there, but there was some. And some of the seeds started to sprout. Now, the soil was shallow. That is not of the sower's making. They did not have anything to do with that. It just is what it is. It's where the seed landed. The ground was fertile, but it wasn't deep enough. So what happens? The first hot day arrived, just as the little seedling started growing. And the seedling withered and died. It was terrible to watch. It was terrible to behold. But it is not of your making. You're going to have people come on board. You're going to have people that are going to sprout. They're going to join. And the sun's going to beat on them for one day. Poof, they're gone. It's like, I thought they were going to last more than a week. Holy crap. They didn't even make it to the first thing. They didn't even make it to a power hour. It sucks to watch. Guess what? Some don't stay. Some don't stick around. One person goes, boo. Oh, this has 5 grams of sugar. I'm out. Oh my God. There's so much sugar. There's 6 cups of sugar in a freaking soft drink, but all of a sudden that's the thing that puts them out. It pisses us off, right? It sucks to watch that, all this time that I put in and all this stuff, and I had to call this guy and put him in touch with him and go through the whole sign-up process, and then they screwed that up and I had to fix that, and then their thing didn't show up, and then poof, they're gone. Mr. Rohn says, why does that happen? We don't know. Don't sign up for that class either. It's going to happen. Some people are going to get lit up like a Christmas tree on the first hot day. That's it. They're done. Here's what you say. You've heard me say this a lot. Isn't that interesting? That's where I got that from. Isn't that interesting? Because it's a choice on how you're going to respond to that. You can grab the quintessential cheesecake and sling it against the wall like I always talk about, or you can say, isn't that interesting? And move on. You can try to figure, well, I'm going to find a way to recultivate the earth, and that you can do all that, but I wouldn't sign up for that class. So what did the sower do? He kept on sowing. He learned to discipline his disappointment. Write that down. He learned to discipline his disappointment. The waitress doesn't lose her ever-living mind when somebody says they don't want cheesecake. Some of you act like a crazy person slinging cheesecake up against the wall because you haven't learned to discipline your disappointment. Does it suck? Yes. Is it worth continuing to get upset about to the point where you're not going out and getting off of the field, you're not sowing seed? That is your choice. I'm just bringing awareness to it so you think about it. So he kept on sowing, disciplined his disappointment, says, isn't that interesting? And kept on going, putting seed out there. And then this seed landed on thorny ground. At this point, it's like, well, holy crap, is anything ever going to actually go right? It does. Wait for the rest of the story, as he said. But here's what happened. Some of you, well, birds got some of this, rocky ground over there, lit up. You know, why am I doing this? And you move on to the next thing. And you do that. And the same thing's going to happen in whatever the next endeavor is going to be. And you'll notice a pattern. And if you've noticed that this is happening in your life a lot, I got a real good fix for that at the end. So this time it lands on thorny ground. It sprouts, it comes up, but the thorns choke it off and kill it. What are those thorns? He said they're little cares, little distractions in the world. These also are not of your making. The birds are not of your making. The shallow ground is not of your making. The thorny ground is not of your making. You're not running. Now, if you're running them off, if you're doing it just completely wrong, then yeah. But in the regular scheme of things, the regular day of things, these are things that are just going to happen. Outside of your control. Nothing you can do about it. These little cares, these little distractions. Here's an amazing, amazing point. People let little things cheat them out of big opportunity. It's one of the most fascinating, interesting things I've observed in other humans is that they will let little things keep them out of big opportunity. They will come up with the dumbest little excuses. What I will call excuses, what they perceive to be a big deal. But in the big scheme of things, they're not. It's their perception. I can try to go in there and influence that, change that. He said, don't sign up for that class. I'm not saying don't ever sign up for that class. I'm just saying in the beginning of your story, don't sign up for that class. What did he do? He kept on sowing. Finally, the seed hits good ground, good soil. And here's the big point. It always will. This is where your faith has to come in, that well, I'm not lying to you and that guy wasn't lying to you either. If you share a good idea long enough, people will come around. The problem is most people don't stay on the field long enough to keep sowing the good seed because they run into some obstacles. And then they say, it doesn't work. It does work. You just got to be able to get it onto the good ground. And the good ground, the good soil does exist. So it starts sprouting. Now, here's the interesting thing. On the good ground, sometimes when it sprouts up, it's only going to do 30% of what it could have done. It's only going to yield 30% of what it could possibly yield. Sometimes it's going to yield 60%, and every once in a while it's going to do 100%. Why is that, you might ask? Don't sign up for that class. He said he was going to take the 30%ers and turn them into 60%ers. He said, I'm going to do it if it kills me, and it almost did. I can so freaking relate to that statement. He said, people try to go out and get everybody and say, just get on my back and I'm going to carry us to it. He said, look, you might be able to bring one with you, maybe two if you're a pretty big dude. 3 is unheard of, but 4 is going to kill you. You're not going to be able to bring everybody on your back. The 30%ers are going to do the 30%. The 60%ers are going to do the 60, and the 100 is going to do 100. Can they increase? Can they go from 30 to 60? Yes. Can you make them do that? No. You cannot. He said you can go around if it's an apple tree, he says, or if it's a pear tree and you want it to be an apple tree, he said you can put apples on it. It's still a pear tree. It's going to produce pears. Let it produce what it's going to produce. I talk about this in my way of saying it is people are going to do what they desire to do. If they don't desire to do more than that, they're not going to. And be okay with that. Stop trying to change them from that perspective. Encourage them, sure. Influence them, absolutely. But you're not going to change them. They've got to change themselves. If they want to change, they've got to change. They've got to read the books. They got to go through the seminars. They got to go through the personal development. Or they don't. It's their call. So how do you get the 100%ers? Simple. You don't stop sowing seeds. I've got a couple people on the team that are 100%ers. I got a couple people on the team that are 60%ers. I got a couple of people on the team that are 30%ers. I got some that are literally one day away from a hot day and they're gone. We had one leave earlier today. I don't know if y'all saw that. A hot day. Burned up. That used to bother me, used to kill me. I didn't push that button. They did. Don't sign up for that class. Don't go chasing it. Don't go chase those birds. Birds going to get some. Some don't stay. That's cool. But as long as you keep sowing, guess what? You're going to overcome all those. So how do you get to 100%? You don't stop. You keep putting it out there. Here's the deal. Some of y'all haven't put enough out there to even get one yet. You haven't even got one growing in rocky ground or thorny ground or anything like that. You haven't done that yet. Why? Because you haven't sown enough. The birds have gotten all the ones that you've been trying to sow because you ain't putting enough out there. It's a numbers game. How many times do you hear that? It's a cliche. It is a numbers game because it's the law of the ratio. So it continues on, but I'm going to pause on that part I do highly encourage you to go out. Building Your Network Marketing Business by Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N. Hour and 6 minutes on YouTube. It's free. If you have Audible, it's on there too. So I'm going to switch over and I'm going to talk about another great share that was out there by Ed Mylett. Michelle had turned me on to that in her post out on the group. And he was there with two other people. I don't remember their names. A couple, they're fitness buffs. They've got a TV show that they've done, a lot of transformation, a lot of people's lives on a fitness level. And he's talking to Ed Mylett. If you know Ed, he's a beast. Big old dude, works out hard. He's been very successful in network marketing and in his businesses. And when we get into talking about the numbers, what I want to do is, and I mentioned it just a second, we don't go through enough. We don't plant enough seed. So I want to rectify that. And I've got a plan for how we're going to rectify that using this and putting it all together. Here's why you all are not where you want to be just yet. Thank you, Mr. Jones. He posted a link. Here's why all of you are not where you want to be just yet. This one's going to sting a little, and as I am known to say, I'm okay with that. The reason that you are not where you want to be is you do not have integrity. Now, before anybody gets upset and hits screw you and hits the end meeting button and leaves, let me tell you what I mean. You have integrity with everybody else. Here's what integrity means. It means doing what you said you were going to do when no one is looking. Doing what you said you were going to do when no one's looking. That's integrity. That is a definition of integrity. And you don't have integrity with yourself. You don't do what you told yourself you're going to do. Now, here's why that happens. You can choose to do it. You just choose not to. You choose not to keep the integrity with yourself. Some thoughts that are out there is you might not love yourself enough to do so. That's an interesting topic, and it can get emotional with people. So what I want to do is I want to teach you how. And I encourage you to watch that video from Ed Mylett because it's going to go into a whole lot more detail, and it's going to be said by some people that are really good at explaining it. But this is going to be enough to get your understanding there, I hope. Is that if you love yourself enough to do so, the way you get there, the reason you're not getting there is because of broken promises. You've told yourself that you're going, who here has said at some point in their life, I'm going on a diet? Yep. And then right after that, you said, we're going to start that on Monday. Why not right now? Because you've done that before and you start breaking those promises, and that's why you're not where you want to be right now. It's a self-confidence thing too. So self-confidence is the habit and process of keeping the promises that you make to yourself. So why don't you keep those promises? You don't believe in yourself. You don't believe that you're able to do it. You've tried it before, you didn't succeed, so you stopped trying. Thank you, Vilma. Everybody is, if they'll admit it. So when you don't succeed, you stop trying, you make a promise, you break that promise, you start here, you have great intention of what's going to do, but you fail one time and you kick yourself down a notch. And then you hedge. You don't go for the big swing the next time, and it drops down a couple levels. Because you make yourself that promise, never again am I going to judge, and then what happens? Oh, didn't make that one. Well, then you tell everybody in the office, I'm starting this diet, and then they come in and you're scarfing down the pizza, and they go, hey, Bill, I thought you were going to be on a diet. Well, what'd you learn out of that? I learned that I don't need to tell anybody about that. I'm not going to put that out there. Why? Because I failed in the past, and I don't want to keep failing because it's knocking my self-esteem down. It's knocking down my self-love. I don't have confidence in myself, and it's beating me up. Let me know if I'm getting warm on anybody just yet. Yeah, this one was hitting me right between the eyes. So you stop making promises. Your integrity takes a hit. You're now to a new low. Your confidence is shot. Now, here's the cool thing. Here's how you get out of it. I ain't going to leave you in the muck. So here's what they offered. And this is what it's like, dude, this is so good. And this fits so perfect with where we're at right now. And that's where it was one of those inspirational things. So what you do is you come up with a promise that you can keep. Can you keep a promise that you're going to brush your teeth every day? Most of us can do that one, right? Can you keep a promise that you're going to make your bed every day? Not all the hands are going to go up on that one. That one might be a little tough, but brushing your teeth, maybe you got that one. Maybe you ain't got that one. I don't know. I don't know your dental hygiene. Who knows, right? There's a good one from Zig Ziglar. He says the dentist told him, hey, just floss the teeth. You don't have to floss all of them. Just floss the ones you want to keep, right? It's cool. So can you keep a promise to yourself? So the key to it is you got to work your way down. You've been going for a little too much and you weren't able to hit that. And you feel the letdown. That's why people's goals are so small. That's why people don't like making goals, because they weren't successful before. Everybody said, go make this big old goal. Yeah, I get all that. I make big ones. But what you got to do is you got to build upon something that you can sustain, because that's why we start with these great ideas on January 1st. And by about January 8th, we're like, this diet can kiss my ass. So what you need to do is you need to start with something that you can keep, and it's called your power promise. Write that down. Power promise. And the power promise is the thing that you know you can do. You know without a doubt. It's so dang simple. Of course, there's not a doubt in your mind comes in of me not being able to do this. I can absolutely do this. This is my power promise. So what I want you to do, and this is the way to get out of it specifically for the Kayani business, for your Jade Factory business. And this is the way that I am offering and suggesting to you on what you can do if you're not happy with where your business is right now. You know you're not taking the action that you need to. Now, there could be a thing of, I don't know what action to take. I am confused. I'm lost. I don't know those things. You need to reach out on that one. You need to reach out. You need to get to the training. You need to get in front of me. You need to call me. You need to tell me, say, Casey, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. If you don't do that, you're sunk. Plain and simple. And it's not that it's hard. It is so stinking simple what we've got. But the power promise that I want you to make is that I suggest that you wave to 10 people a day. For the last several power hours that we've done, Mr. Jones and I have both gotten you to grab your phone, go into Messenger, and wave to 10 people. Does everybody agree with me? And don't let your terrorist get a hold of you right now and start thinking 6 steps ahead. But does everybody agree with me that you can wave to 10 people a day? Do you have that in you? If so, raise your hand for me. If your video is off and you're in the middle of doing something, I get it. Text something in there that says, I'm in. And if you will do that, thank you, Amanda. If you'll do that, you can build on that. That's all I'm asking you to do. Reach out. Thank you, Velma. I'm asking you to reach out to 10 people and wave to them. I'm not saying do step 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not asking you to do any of those others. I'm asking you to just wave to 10 people. Well, later you're going to tell me we need to do this, that, and the other. We'll get to some more skills down the road, but that's not the promise part. The promise part is simply, I'm going to wave to 10 people. You'll let your terrorists get, what if they all respond to me, Casey? I don't know what I'm going to do. That's not the power promise. The power promise is wave to 10 people and don't worry about what happens after that. I can wave at somebody, and if they wave back, I don't have to answer right away. That's what I'm suggesting. Now, here's the deal. You might not be able to get there. Maybe that's too much for you. I'm making a suggestion. It's got to be your power promise, not my power promise. I have a different power promise. It's got to be your power promise. If you're not where you want to be in this business, I promise you, if you will do this to 10 and stick with it, in 365 days from now, you will not recognize your life. You will be so, there's transform and then there's transmogrify. You go look that one up because that's a big word. I was all happy to learn a new word. It will be so crazy how different it is. You won't recognize yourself. Your life will be absolutely different in a very good way if you choose to. Michelle is in and she's already done it today. She already kept her promise that quick. And that's why I wanted you all to get this, because you could have the worst day of your life. You could lose family members in a house fire on how bad of a day it is. And when it's all said and done, before you pass out and your head hits the floor, you can grab your phone and you go in there and you can hit this button 10 times and you've kept your promise. I know that was a crazy example, but that's how serious I am about this. They go on to talk about how they had people that had made a transformation and they had their power promise, the one thing that they knew that they could get, that they could make sure happen every day. And the one time that they broke their power promise, they broke their integrity to themselves. People that had literally weighed 600 pounds, that had lost 300 and 400 pounds. They could trace it back because they gained it all back because they broke their power promise. That's how big of a deal it is. If you're not where you want to be, it's because you don't have that type of mentality set up that you're going to love yourself first. You're going to let yourself down over and over again. So that's how big of a deal this is. Take this serious. Take this power promise idea very serious. Watch this video about the power promise. It is incredible. Watch that and lump it together with Jim Rohn's Building Your Network Marketing Business. And if you have those two things come together in your brain and you apply this with these ratios, with all of the genius philosophy that is found in that 1 hour tape, and you take this one concept of the power promise out of what these three are talking about on this beautiful house that he owns on the shore in California, you put those two things together, everything will be different. It's about getting into action. It's about getting those numbers. And if you'll simply get those 10, it's going to change everything. What this will do is it's going to change not just your business, but it's going to change everything in your life, because you're going to be able to build off of that, and you're going to see that your word has power, and you're going to believe it. And you're going to see that you start manifesting things into existence because you simply choose to. Does it happen instantaneously? I would say that it does, from a perspective of as soon as you make that choice, it does. It's written and it will occur. Do you see it that exact moment? You better see it right here. Because if you don't see it here, you haven't kept that promise. When you keep that promise, you believe that. You see it, you manifest it, it's done. Y'all get it? Ooh, 18 messages in the chat channel. I think y'all get it. Let's see here. Sweet. I like it. Oh, and I like the last part on there too. I'm also looking at suggested friends and adding at least 3 a day. Good job. Here's the deal of 10 a day. Well, Casey, I don't have enough people to do this with. Go through the ones that you do. I bet you got 10. If not, there's a little button in Facebook called Add Friend. Just start clicking people. Just wave at them. Well, I got that. Nope. That's terrorist. Don't worry about all that. Wave to 10. If you got any questions on what the next step is, reach out to me. Reach out to the group, County Local. Any questions about that? Man, that was good. I got 2 minutes to spare. Any questions on this concept? Anything anybody wants to share? Thoughts, theories, concerns, questions? Unmute yourself and ask away. Who's already done 10? Has anybody waved to 10 yet? I think Michelle did.
Yeah, Michelle did. I did. It looks like Amanda did.
Jones did.
Jerry did.
Good.
Yeah, so then comes up, hi, how are you?
That's step 2.
Doing good. Thank you. This is, some of the stuff that's come back already.
That means you can circle step number 2 because they waved back. I'm sorry, they said hi back.
Okay. So
Good job.
I'm going to say doing great. And then throw it back at them.
Ask them how their family's been. That's when you get to form. If you're curious about what do I do next, what are the steps, how do I do the steps, don't understand the steps, go watch last Thursday's Power Hour. I went into the 5 steps. But you're nailing it, Kathy. Any other questions? Go ahead, Mindy.
I did one today kind of the wrong way probably, but I think it kind of worked. I was sitting at the airport looking at Facebook, and I had somebody that was looking for a rheumatologist. And so I just went and sent her a private message and said, I don't know a rheumatologist, but I got something that might help. And she came back with, I don't have rheumatoid, I have fibromyalgia. And I said, still got something that can probably help. If you want, I can hook you up to a wellness page and you can read some testimonies of people with your same issue. And then I got on the flight, of course, but when I got back, she replied, absolutely, I'd like to see it. So that was the one that I sent up. And I know that wasn't really the way to go. I didn't.
Yeah, and here's why. Let me break in real quick. You're saying the right or wrong. Again, you know me, I'm not a big fan of saying something's right or wrong. I'm just saying what serves you. And what typically happens by doing that is when you skip step 4, and you skip step 4 in the empathy side of things. You didn't spend enough time, my opinion, you know her better. You might not have to do that. You might know her.
I don't even know her.
Then I would suggest specifically in that, well, in all cases, spend more time on the empathy side and not getting to Mr. Fix-It. You went to Mr. Fix-It. You went straight to, problem, fibromyalgia. I can fix that right now. Boom, boom, boom. I need to go fix this right now. And you missed the part on the human side on, oh, shit, man, I'm sorry to hear you're dealing with that. How long have you been dealing with that? You didn't take anything for that? You didn't hit that emotional side of understanding her. You're transactional right now. Not saying anything's wrong with it. I'm just saying the other one is going to serve you better. It's going to be a lot more effective when you have that human side. And you were at the human level beforehand when you were finding the thing. We just get excited when we hear the thing, then we want to fix the thing. And we forgot that part where we were being human before. We skipped the human now. When we get to the big thing, that's where you need to be, oh, man, sorry to hear that. Put some of that in there and mean it. Mm-hmm. But awesome job. Awesome job because you took action. And guess what? The seed landed on fertile ground.
Cool.
Yes, that's awesome. Somebody made a comment on here. My Terrace says, I have way too many to say thank you to for the well wishes. Did I miss a part before that? Rob, what do you mean by that on the well wishes part?
It's a birthday today, and I had a lot of people saying happy birthday, so I have a lot more to wave at people. It sounds kind of strange.
I thought we did that a couple days back. I'm messing with you.
Yeah, well.
we already sang happy birthday and everything.
Yeah, no, I missed it.
But today's the official day. Happy birthday, Rob. That's awesome.
But waving at people seems a little fun. I got a lot of thank yous to say.
Yeah, that works. And that is a version of it. I use this so that people can get some momentum. But yes.
Well, another business partner had mentioned that's a good way to connect people, just thanking them and starting a conversation. So I've got quite a few to go through.
Love it. Very cool, man. Very cool. Now, here's the deal. They're going to be there, and when you reply back to them, it's not going to lose any of its strength. Even if you reply to them 2 days from now, 3 days from now, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now, and you come back around and say, man, I'm so sorry. I missed this one, and I just wanted to say thank you for the happy birthday. Wasn't that 6 weeks ago? It sure was. You know how it goes. How you been? They've all been there. They've all been there. They've all missed one of those, forgot that, got busy, so don't worry about that at all. Don't let that terrorist win.
Thank you.
Yep. And here's the message for everybody on that. When the terrorist shows up, and there's a very high likelihood that it is, that's another version of the birds, by the way, the terrorist. That's when those other things happen. When that happens, you need to look at it and say, that happened. My terrorist has got a hold of me right now. Rob did a great job. He acknowledged that. That's the first step. The second step, to banish him to the shadow realm temporarily, is to get back to your desire, the real feeling, the real one, not that one that you just tell people in the elevator, but the real one that when they get to know you, you let out. The one that I'm here to impact 200,000 people's lives. That's why I'm doing this. Why? Because it makes me feel good. I want a statue about me for doing that. That's what I desire. That's what you think of. And when you think of whatever that is for you, and you've identified the terrorist and you do that step, guess what? He's gone or she's gone. And now you can go take action and hit your 10 or whatever your next step is. That's how you get rid of them. All right.
I have one comment, please.
Yes, please.
I just want to remind everybody that just because it doesn't go any farther than the hi and hello, to be sure you keep after it, because I signed a customer up today who not only signed up for the 6 months of Prime, did a year because she knew she was going to have to take it for at least a year, and that was cheaper. So stay with it.
That's so good. That's so good. And that's the part I was talking about. You do this for 365 days, you're going to be amazed. You will have the biggest crop. You won't even know what to do with it. And the cool thing is you can get other people to come in and harvest it for you. Very good. All right. I hope tonight was helpful. I hope you got a lot out of it. If you did, comment on that. I'm going to post this up there. Comment on it, share it, get it out to people. Let them know, hey, y'all need to watch Power Hour. Holy crap, it was amazing. And you'd probably be good to show up at the next one. All right? So get that out there for me. Help spread the word. And I appreciate you all being on tonight. I'm going to unmute the line so you can say goodnight, and we will see you at the next one. Oh, real quick announcement. Just a reminder, we've got the fun run for those in Houston. That's going to be happening this Saturday. And then we've got our One Conversation Away series is continuing. The second class is going to be this Saturday. So make sure you are, if you're signed up for that, that you've got everything ready to go. The Zoom for that, for anybody, I need to look on the list to see who is out of town. But if you are on that, I will send that out on Saturday for the link so that you'll be able to attend. All right, everybody, let me unmute the lines. And y'all have a wonderful evening. Thanks for joining.
Good night. Good night. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night, John Boy.
Good night.
Beat you to it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.